to 11:59 at Radio Free America. This is Uncle Sam with music and the truth until dawn. Right now, I got a few words for some of our brothers and sisters in the occupied zone. The chair is against the wall. The chair is against the wall. John has a long mustache. John has a long mustache. It's 12 o'clock, Americans, another day closer to victory. And for all of you out there on or behind the lines, this is your song.
And welcome everybody to our daily gun show. We come to you live every day at 7 p.m. Eastern. That's 4 Pacific. For about an hour or 90 minutes each day. We do 3 gun-related topics each day, different topics throughout the week. We run it live on YouTube. We're simulcasting it live on gunchannels.com, where we're watching the comments that are coming in live from the people that are joining us while we broadcast. Every so often, we'll take the audio from the shows and post it on iTunes as a podcast. We encourage anybody that might be listening to the show then in the future or watching it on YouTube to give us some feedback, whatever the platform is you're watching it on. That lets us know where you are. Hopefully lets more people know about the show, so we appreciate that favor. There's 4 hosts. We're all here today. We got Bob jumping in from Canada. Thanks for joining.
Oh, yeah. I'm here. Sorry. Just was away from the computer for a second.
Right on. Daniel jumping in from Illinois. Thanks for joining.
Yep, glad to be here.
And then we got Smeggy jumping in from Michigan, I think.
Hey, how's everybody doing?
And then I'm down here in Arizona. So let's see. Today is Thursday. It's episode 339. We'll be talking about CCW, online CCW classes, and if they're any good. We'll talk about gun stuff, novelty guns, and then training. And I don't know why we don't have a topic in there. I thought we did, but we'll look over on the show notes. Maybe we have it over here. No. So we have to figure out a topic for training, and then we have all the stuff we normally do on a daily basis. But before we dig into everything, we usually take a break at the beginning, see if anything happened overnight. That's what we're talking about.
I have absolutely no idea.
I was sleeping.
Well, there you go. For me, I have some...
Nothing has happened.
Jeff over at Cutlery Lover on YouTube posted a video about the playing cards. Appreciate that. So if anybody hasn't seen that, I sent him a couple of decks of the AK cards so he could look at them doing the video. And I think he's going to do a giveaway on one of the AK decks. Anybody that's interested.
Well, that's ending kind of soon, isn't it?
Ends on Monday. Yep. So it's just got a couple more days. Highly ask everyone. I would highly appreciate it if you could share the project, even if you've already participated in it. In the last couple of days is when people tend to jump on it. So the more sharing on the various platforms, YouTube for sure, Instagram, Facebook, of course, and then gun channels. Posting stuff up there, though, spreading the word definitely helps out a lot. All right, so
I put some in training.
Now we have a training subject today. So I guess Matt had a show last night. I don't know how many people jumped into that one. It was pretty fun. And then I think Heavy's going to start doing his show after Matt. I'm trying to talk him into doing like a Stone Guy type of show after Matt.
Right.
Did a little bit of market research yesterday, and most people seem like they'd be willing to listen to a show later on in the evening like that. And obviously, gun channels.
Well, it's definitely a proven formula that does seem to work.
It did, yeah, back in the day. And we definitely could use some chat over on gun channels, so it'd be cool to see some after chat start up again. Kind of not, well, you know how they were, kind of formatted, but not quite lobbies, but not really lobbies either.
Right. It would continue some of the discussion that from the earlier chat into the after chat.
Right, and it would give other people a chance to jump in and put their 2 cents in. Those conversations that were cut short, give them a chance to develop.
Well, that's true. That's a good point. Because there's always, it always seems with Matt's chats that or many times, it seems they're getting shut down and there's still lots to say. But it's going on to 2 hours and Matt's got to work.
Well, he censors everything and he's only in it for the money. So if it's not going to be a topic where he makes money on it, then he's just going to sweep it under the rug. So
blah, blah, blah. That's not true. Matt does it for the love of listening to his own voice.
Yeah, Bob might be onto something on that one.
He does. He loves to hear himself talk. I understand completely.
That's because that's who you are.
So
Well, that's what I said.
prevent that from happening, we'll go ahead and jump into the show, I guess. So it's episode 339. We're starting with CCW, which is concealed carry. Today's topic is online CCW classes. Are they good? Didn't we just do this last week? Or am I crazy?
I think we did just do this.
So I don't know. I think
Those two people that reorganized it somehow
that could have happened.
Oh, but yeah, start pointing the fingers of blame, Dano.
But what I think might be happening to blame something, I think it might be the process when we organically just, topics come up and we add them to the list like throughout the month while the show's happening or whatever, that, some of the topics go in that way. And then on the second day of the month when we do the scheduling show, we just start filling in the blanks. We don't, at least I haven't ever really paid attention to if we're putting a similar topic, a week later. And that might have been what happened, is that 2 weeks ago, somebody said, hey, let's do online CCW classes. And we thought that was a great idea. And then we just backed it up with another suggestion of the same thing almost. Or we screwed up when we were transferring our over. So either way.
Yeah. Let's talk about it anyway. So what, online training courses? Yeah, they could be helpful. Sure. I mean, I've learned to do lots of stuff on my more modern vehicles by looking at stuff online and not taking a course. But,
What are your modern vehicles? 1970?
05, my truck. I've had to look up all kinds of shit on it because it's all covered in.
Oh, yeah, it's a Dodge, so it's always breaking down. So, I don't know. I guess you can get curriculum on an online class. My thing is you're going to be missing the interaction with other students. Have you seen any classes where they're in a situation like this, where there's multiple people in the same thing at the same time getting instruction?
There should be. That's something that, should be happening, because that's a great idea. Because that's exactly what you're saying, is that's what's missing from the online courses, is the interaction with the other students. Although when I was in technical school, a lot of times it was, violent, but that you couldn't happen online that way, but you could still have your arguments and stuff like that. So that's actually a really, boy, I hope somebody's doing that.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything like that. I've seen pretty much just, an online class, dudes just reading off, like, whatever. I personally am not a huge fan of them for CCW. Mainly because the majority of the time, they claim like, oh, this is a, CCW class for whatever, 30 states or whatever. And you're like, oh, that sounds pretty cool. And then when you look into it, it's like, well, really, it's a non-resident permit for, Utah or whatever. And then that happens to have reciprocity with like 30 other places. And honestly, I think the most important part of the CCW class is learning about your state laws. And so if they're not going to go into super detail about your specific state, I think you're really missing out. A lot of them are similar, but there may be some quirks that Michigan has that Ohio doesn't or whatever. And you're not going to learn that from an online class that's trying to speak to, as many people as possible.
I wouldn't disagree with that. And I think there's something to be said about if somebody presents information one way, and if you don't understand the way it's been presented, you have zero opportunity to get clarification, because there's only one presentation of the information. There's only one way that is presented. So the opportunity to ask for a clarification or to hear other students get their take on questions, maybe from a different perspective, is also not there. And that's the advantage that a group would have, where the individual ones, which are the only ones I've seen so far, doing it off of a DVD sort of a thing, don't have.
Yeah, well, I mean, there might be some of them where, I don't know, maybe like you can take the class, but then there's also like a forum, or you can email the instructor or something. I'm not sure exactly how they work, but that might, I think a forum would be a pretty darn good way of achieving what we were.
Well, that could be close to dangerous.
Other people's questions and things like that you didn't think of.
As long
if there's
as
a forum that everyone who logs in can go to.
As long as it was the instructor answering them and not other students. I mean, the source of authority of the topic is the instructor.
Right. Well, I mean, I could see maybe like a group of instructors willing to, they all chip in on some of the content, and then they're all like moderators on a forum or something.
Yeah, or something like that. Yeah.
Like I said, I'm not necessarily completely knocking it, because I think honestly the CCW class normally it doesn't teach you that much anyways. I think it's dumb that it's required to get a permit, but if you're in a place that is required to get a permit, you might as well at least get something out of it. And that's where, again, I said the details of the specific state laws, I think, is the really valuable part of it. If they just sit there and teach you what a gun is or whatever, it's like most people already know that kind of stuff. Yet they teach it anyways because that's what they have to do.
I think there's the possibility that you could do an online class that's almost like choose your own adventure, or like test out of the stuff that, like you say, that you think you've already covered. You can test out of it, and then everybody gets what they're, the same information from, or at least a same amount of information. So somebody who's new is going to get new information. Somebody who's middle is going to get more information, and somebody's advanced can explore advanced topics or something. That would encourage people to come back and do it over and over. So I think it's a good thing. I think that we'll see apps develop. We'll see online, stuff develop so that it takes advantage of all the potential we got out there. And classes don't need to be static like they used to be. If it gives more access to people that can't show up at 5 p.m. because they work till 6, then that's a good thing too.
Yeah, I definitely think there's a lot of potential there. If it's structured like you guys had mentioned. I just don't know if it'll be realized or not, but it definitely has that potential to happen.
Have you gotten a traffic ticket lately?
No.
I got one for in the van when it was running still, and then since I hadn't had a ticket in forever, you can test out by going to traffic school, and they let you do that online, and that way the ticket gets removed from your stuff. So the development there is crazy. I don't know if I've ever done one online before. I know I've done traffic schools before and they sucked, and this was not as bad as having to go to some hotel on whatever day it was and waste hours sitting there listening to garbage. I had to just sit there listening to garbage on my computer in the comfort of my own home at least. So anyway, I figure if they can do something as what would you say, like official as a traffic school, where it's supposed to be done with a reason so that you learn safety, and it does. It teaches you a bunch of stuff that, I can't remember the last time I went to learn about traffic stuff. There's all kinds of stuff you forget or you didn't know or whatever, and it refreshes you on all that. So if a CCW class is to do the same kind of thing, then I think the potential is definitely there.
Back in the early 90s, I did attend one of those traffic schools because I was trying to think when was the last time I had a ticket, and it was the early 90s. And the people, we all had to go around and say, why we were in there for that class. There wasn't anybody
physical, not online.
Right, a physical class.
Okay.
And there wasn't anybody in there for an offense that had a type of an offense where it wasn't obvious. So there really was no educational component to it because it was obvious that it was already wrong.
Well, no,
they went to a stoplight, they were speeding.
Yeah,
things like that.
If you do something negligent, because if you do something criminal, you're not going to traffic school, you're going to jail, right? So if you do something negligent or whatever, then they figure, okay, it's time for you to get a refresher, and that's what I figure traffic school is all about. And I've had to go twice now, I guess, the online and then real life.
Yeah.
And both times, it was horrible and I didn't like it, but I felt pretty good about it. I didn't mind really because, like I say, there's all kinds of stuff that you just forget or you don't care. Just stupid stuff. And like I think whenever I went to school, whatever I was in high school, and you learn traffic or whatever, and you get your license, I don't think there was a law that you had to pull over the other lane. Like you had to leave a lane clear when somebody was pulling you over, or there was like an emergency. Like it was protocol, you should do that, but there wasn't a law. And like now it's a law that if you drive in the lane next to those people, that's illegal. So I think that's a difference than when I first learned how to drive.
Well, I guess, I've just always viewed it as an example. I went there because I was speeding. I knew I was speeding. So the only purpose that the class served for me was as a punishment to make me slow down.
Oh, no, it's an opportunity to be, like I say, it's to make you go back and look at everything again, because obviously you're not paying attention to something.
Oh, no, I was paying attention, fully aware that I was speeding.
Yeah, I used to speed all the time and know it and enjoy it.
Well, I guess it means that if you get caught, my assumption is that if you get caught on an infraction like that, something that's semi-inconsequential, then you've got a lackadaisical attitude. You're not taking it seriously anymore. They want you to sit down and remember all the stuff you're responsible for when you're driving. And that's, I think, the goal, right, is to not be a punishment as much. Well, I mean, I guess it's a punishment, but it's to make you, it's to slap you and go, hey, this is serious. This isn't a privilege. It's a right. Or no, it's not a right. It's a privilege. And remember all this stuff. It's kind of like when you watch those traffic accident stuff when you're a kid. They make you do that.
I mean, you were talking about how boring and everything they were, and that's obviously not much of a learning environment, which is also why I thought it was a punishment.
Well, I mean, it's horribly boring because it's at a 6th grade education, but I think the info was valuable. That's why I don't complain too much about the thing. In fact, what I think they should do is, I think maybe they do this, I just haven't taken advantage of it, but they should give you a discount on your insurance if you're willing to go through one of those online courses, just as a refresher, because I think it's fairly interesting to get the data, get the info. It's just sitting there and having to take 8 hours to get the 10 minutes worth of data. It's annoying.
No, is that one of those things where you watch a little like 10-minute video or something, and then you have to answer a question. Then you watch another little 20-minute segment, you have to answer a couple questions. Because I've taken like workplace safety training stuff like that. How to use a harness or confined space or, lockout, tag out, that kind of stuff. And it's exactly like that where, but that's the thing where we were talking, going back to the CCW, if you know the stuff and you see the slide, you're like, oh, I'm pretty sure I know about, how to clear the chamber or whatever. Like, you can just skip the video and answer the question, it will move on. And if you get it wrong, it goes back a slide and you have to watch the whole thing again.
You're like, I'm not going to fall into a hole. I don't need to watch this segment. I'll just skip it.
Oh, my God. I was actually doing the correct thing at that because I was the overwatch of the hole so that other people didn't fall in. That's why we didn't have the barrier or the safety tape up.
Like I was there, I was working in the industry where all of a sudden it got all safe, and you had to wear vests that were reflective and safety harnesses if you were above 10 feet and all this bullshit. And the first thing when we got a safety harness was we got the dumb guy at work to put it on, and then we hooked him up to the forklift and put him up to the ceiling on the forklift, and then all walked away and went for coffee and left him hanging there, because those things would just, they went around your crotch. They were terrible, uncomfortable, and clumsy and stupid.
Yeah, but they save your life if you're falling off 50 feet or whatever.
You just gotta tuck and roll, man.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Or
Safety Bob here.
I don't know how that.
I tried to bring it back to CCW. I tried real quick. It didn't work.
When did this go off into stupid human tricks?
All right. So I think we've solved CCW online courses for the second time. You're welcome. That means we can move along. So unless anybody had anything else to throw out there, we'll head into, I guess, gun stuff, novelty guns. Before we do, though, we usually take a break between the first and second segment of the show each day. We feature one of the members over at Gun Channels. This week, I picked a bunch of people that were just hanging out in the lobby, or in the lobby chat, and when I was filling out the schedule. So today it's Robbie. Pretty sure he's won quite often on the top quiz, right? And obviously chats a bunch. So kind of a one of the household names over on gun channels. So when we built the place, we figured people would use it, and definitely an example of somebody's using it. Thanks for doing so.
Yeah, he's definitely I would call original gun channels text member, because he is regularly in the text chats.
Yep, for true. For true.
I mean,
yeah,
Not
always,
not
not always good, but he's got something interesting a lot of times.
All right. So with that, we'll go into gun stuff and novelty guns. How do we want to take? Which direction do we want to take that?
yeah, I was thinking, were you thinking like carnival guns? Were you thinking like toy guns? Like the pneumatic guns, or actually the 22 shorts at a carnival?
Or like pen guns and knife guns, you know, a 22 that's a pen, or a 22 that's a knife, or, you know, little tiny cannons and stuff like that. Are those novelty guns?
Yeah, I'd call those novelty. What Dan was talking about for like a shooting gallery, those are useful, like dedicated guns. I mean, that's we call them gallery guns in their description, in their model names and stuff. So.
Usually 22 short pump actions, you know.
But your novelty will be your weird ones, and the ones that are, well, what's the definition of novelty? Like ones that are just there for fun, yeah. Or
a lot of those ring of fire pistols could be considered novelty guns.
Maybe now. It says the definition of novelty is the quality of being new, original, or unusual, a small, inexpensive toy or ornament. So I think like the cannons I was talking about, those things are novelty for sure.
So all the zip gun.
What about a zip gun or a Jimenez? What about those little?
All right. Well, the zip gun, the Zip 22, like the actual model Zip 22, the weird looking gun that's used in 22 mags.
No, I was thinking about the ones with the pen.
Okay, that ain't a zip gun. So a zip gun is normally, in like criminal terms, would be, I guess you could say, a pen, you know, an improvised gun that's usually tubular. But those are illegal because they're non-registered NFA items. So unless you're talking about an actual NFA thing, I don't know if you can call it novelty once you paid a $200 tax just to own the thing, to transfer it to yourself. But I've got that little pen gun that is a novelty for sure, because it's just fun to shoot. There's no real point to it other than to exist.
Well, you could pretend you buy.
So that little pen gun does not require a tax stamp then?
Correct, because my pen gun breaks into an angle, so it has a pistol grip when it's in a fireable condition, and then a little trigger pops out, so it's got a trigger when it's fireable. Doesn't matter what it looks like when it's not fireable, because it's not a gun at that point. So because it looks like it has a grip and it has a trigger, then it meets the definition of a pistol. So it's just a single shot pistol, Derringer. The pen guns that are in line, you know, that literally only look pen ever, and you unscrew the chamber usually and put a bullet in there and then kind of pull back on the firing pin usually, and they just kind of fit over to the side, a lot like a Sten bolt catch. Anyway, those kind are under NFA because they're so much more dangerous, I guess. But basically those are flare guns. Those are super easy to improvise. Those are just, I don't know, I think useful guns too, but I would consider those probably novelty. Little noisemakers sometimes. I guess you could use them to like dispatch a rodent or something. Snake.
Yeah. What about those little pinfire, like the cufflinks and the little thing? Those are novelties.
Those would be novelties. Good ones.
I mean, although they probably have the same firepower as 9mm, they're probably still considered novelty.
Well, I did see it poke a hole in a water bottle that one time, so.
Yeah, exactly. You see, if you shake up a can of soda and shoot one, it'll load all over.
Just like you could do with an elastic band and a BB.
So, Dog Body's saying muzzle loaders. I agree with that. Those are, I guess, you know, one thing.
Some of them are. Like some are dedicated hunting rifles that are, you know, they use a shotgun primer. They load from the rear. They're basically a regular gun. You put stuff in.
I'm thinking flintlock. Sorry, I'm thinking like.
Yeah, flintlocks.
By the time you're fiddling around, that's really. I mean, those people. I don't know how the hell they used to live like that, but at this day and age, we're all pretty much.
All you had, right? Because you didn't have anything else. And,
well, and you probably got really good at it, and I'm sure the machines were better. Now we have versions of them, and I haven't seen anybody who's really good at that stuff. So I would say that's basically just novelty at this point, just something to fiddle around with and prove that you can do it, have some experience with it and fun.
I like that, yeah. I've always
it's cool because it's like you know, you're going back in time a little bit. Like you said, you've experienced what the other people had to deal with, and
it's different. It's like the difference between shooting an AK and an AR. They have a different recoil impulse. They have a different feel. They have a different sound they make, right? They're just a different experience to shoot. Obviously, those are both different than shooting like a revolver or something, which is a little different experience than shooting a semi-auto pistol. So when you shoot a flintlock, it's got a weird delay and like hang times, and then just a different push because it's nowhere near as, you know, the same kind of physics going on. Those things are usually way heavier. So it is just an interesting thing to shoot it, just to shoot it. And like, you know, and especially all the manipulation and operation of it is crazy.
Yeah. You know, plus black powder burns slower and it makes a big cloud of smoke. And
that's true. And the smells, and yeah, having the little explosion happen and then a larger push and smoke everywhere, and then the smell of it, and then of course everybody on the range going, "Hey, that's awesome! What is that?"
Yeah.
That is always part of the experience if you're at a range.
Yeah, I don't know, I'm really tempted to get into it. I just, you know.
Now, what about like how far away would a cap gun be from a novelty gun, or does it actually have to have a barrel with something projecting?
That's where I would probably draw the line if I'm calling it a gun, because otherwise it's just toys if there's nothing coming out, or if it's something coming out that's harmless like a BB or a airsoft. Pointless.
We'll put your eye out.
Well, something spring loaded like that, that's no big deal.
I mean, you could put your eye on stick, so not everything.
I mean, I've killed a rabbit with a BB gun.
Oh, I've killed all kinds of things with a BB gun, but
well, I'm just saying that, I mean, those things can be, you know,
well, so you're saying
other creatures.
Yeah, but it was your sister's bunny rabbit, and it was in a cage, Dano. That doesn't count.
So you're saying that guns are novelty guns?
Well, I'm asking, would those be considered BB guns? Be considered novelty guns?
I guess so.
I don't think so.
No, I don't.
I mean, because that's one of the things. I mean,
they're also just a BB gun, right? Like they're not a novelty; they're just a BB gun. Or they
right. Novelty doesn't mean necessarily, you know, cheap or a toy or weak or whatever. I mean, a novel idea is something that's just different and not conventional kind of thing. And maybe it becomes conventional, but at the time. So I'm going to throw out there the Keltec shotgun, whatever the heck that thing's called. I think that's a novelty gun because they, with the double barrel or the double magazines and all that stuff, like that thing's just neat.
It's neat.
Air gun.
Apparently it's not that good.
Interesting idea, but if we're going to use that idea of novel, then an air-powered BB gun is a novelty gun because that's what Lewis and Clark used.
Well, yeah. Now you're getting into the super air-powered kind of thing. That's like the ones that they're actually hunting pigs with air guns now. They're like 45 caliber air guns that are blowing right through a big pig. I mean, they're getting like black powder muzzle loader velocities out of an air gun, and they're taking down pretty big game with them. And that's great. I like that. I think it's a wonderful idea. They're not quiet. They're not, you know, you only got about 6 or 8 rounds, and then you got to charge the cylinder again. But
they're pretty quiet. So Dog Body on the gun channel side is saying that Chiap tri-barrel shotgun. Seen that one? It's a break action. Looks like a double barrel side by side coach gun, but it's got really 3 barrels on it. I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's the Trinity.
I like it. Neat, but it's pointless. It's heavier.
I'd own one for sure. If somebody, you know, if I can get a deal on one or something, I'd own one because I think they're just kind of badass. It's like a double barrel shotgun with an extra shot. But yeah, they must be heavy and yeah.
No, is that one? Is it all 3 shotgun barrels? Because I've seen those other tri-barrel things that have like different calibers in the different barrels.
They're all 3 the same 12 gauge.
Okay. I just wasn't familiar with that one exactly. I think those ones are neat. I think that's kind of a novelty thing too, right? And that's an old idea where you have like a shotgun, a rifle, and like a 22 or whatever. Like it's.
I can't go with you there because those are completely utilitarian. In Europe, they can't, or I think they have like open hunting seasons, so they can have few guns, but they can hunt all kinds of things. So the drillings that you're talking about, I think, where you have like a 12 gauge and a rifle and a rimfire all in the same gun, those were completely made because of their horrible laws and the way that they hunt over there, where they'll shoot a deer at the same time they're shooting a duck, and then they'll shoot a rabbit just to kill it. And then if you're talking about the one little guns over here, then again, those are made for a purpose. So I don't know if I'd go with you on the multi-shot, multi-caliber ones because those are intent built.
Yeah, they really are utilitarian, but a 3-barrel 12 gauge, that's kind of a novelty.
Now, what about, and Smeggy, you may have brought it up earlier, where you can switch from one feeding tube to another. Is that a Keltec that does that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there's another one, or probably 2 or 3
you
more.
can have like bird shot in one barrel and either slugs or buckshot in the other.
Yeah. I think it works that way. You can either make it go eat one tube or eat the other tube or rotate back and forth.
Right.
So,
well, there's a UTE, I think, is the same kind of thing, but it's a much higher end one.
Sure.
No, it works better, I think. Anyway, yeah, those are kind of novelty guns, although I could see them getting more. They're very short, like they're almost a bullpup, aren't they?
I don't know. You're the expert on them. I never even picked one up, but I guess you'd call them out. They're not better for anything. They're just another way. What about that double barrel 19 or that double 1911 thing?
No, well, that's silly.
What's a novelty?
That for sure is a novelty.
Oh, I know another one. How about that STG 44 that's 22 rimfire? No point for that gun.
Oh, no, that's a novelty. Yeah, that's a novelty gun. I'll call it that. The same with that. There's a 22 rimfire you can get in the States there that looks like a MP44.
Gatling gun.
Right? You know? And
oh,
Gatling gun.
Okay, those are freaking awesome. I guess those are novelty ones, but you're talking about the real NFA full auto little machine guns?
No.
There are those.
They make a 22 rimfire version of the, you know, MP44, the Smesher. It's not really a Smesher, the MP44 isn't. But, you know, the German submachine gun from World War II, they make one looks just like it, but it's 22 rimfire. It's got stick mags, you know.
No.
That's a novelty gun. Same as that one that looks like the STG 44, right?
What about the Chiappa Rhino line?
No.
No.
But they did make them for a reason, I guess. So I think if they would have just made them once and then walked away, then yeah, like the Mateba, yeah. But they just made too many of them. They ran with it. So I think it's trying to be useful. Even if it didn't accomplish it right, they still get to claim that it was trying to be useful. Like a Judge. Yeah. I wouldn't call a Judge a useful gun or nothing, but it's not a flash in the pan. It's not like the Colt revolving rifle where they made 3,000 of them. You could call that a novelty because it just didn't last. And then
no, because a lot of other companies did it too, and they were going with a revolving rifle, thinking that was a solution to a problem. And then it turned out to be more of a problem than a solution. And then, of course, cartridges came along. It was a solution to a problem that another answer came out, cartridges. Yeah, so making that revolving cylinder, because the reason they did it was so they could do it with black powder, right? You'd have 6 rounds of black powder cap and ball. You know, that's why they originally made revolving carbines. So we get multiple shots.
Right. Yeah, exactly. They were trying to be able to get multiple shots in a short amount of time. They knew it worked on handguns.
Right.
Oh, we can just load all these up and then, use one at a time and switch to the next one.
So going
once cartridges came around where they were able, it was easy to extract that cartridge and put another one in.
Oh yeah,
It was just better than the revolver.
Cartridges came out just when that happened, so I don't think that gun would be considered a novelty gun. I'm going to disagree with you on that, Gio. Because, like I say, other manufacturers were doing it well.
Just because other people did it doesn't mean it wasn't a novel idea at the time.
But I mean, it was people looking for a solution to multiple shots in a carbine or rifle. And at the time, because they didn't have cartridges when they were designing these, cartridges weren't reliable. There was maybe fires or something. But they went with, okay, what works in a revolver? Cylinder. All right, guys are going to have to not put their hand out in front of it. They're going to have to train them about that. And, All
right. So this is another one. It's 2 Ruger 1022s. Stick them together in this kit you buy. Puts the aluminum pieces together to mount them, and then gives you those shrouds. So it looks kind of cool. By the time you put in 2 stick mags, or 2 drums, it'll look kind of neat as a kind of a firearm sitting on a bipod. And because the crank just uses the normal triggers and it pulls one at a time, there's nothing registered about this. So a lot of people love it and hate it, but it works pretty good. You basically pull the trigger and then crank that little handle thingy, and you can walk the rounds in on a bunch of cans or whatever, pumpkin or something. I'd call that a novelty.
Yeah, that's definitely novelty. That's a slightly larger version than what I've seen before, but I've seen the same thing in a slightly smaller form, but same thing.
Yeah, I would own one of those if I had the wherewithal. I think that would be kind of fun. Take out to the range and just, maybe the desert would be better, but just take it out there, put a pile of watermelons up or ditch melons or whatever you can find, and just, I think it'd be a lot of fun. A couple 100-round drums, maybe radio-controlled airplanes, shoot them down, drones or something. I don't know. I could come up with all kinds of cool ways to use something like that.
100-round drums of 22. How about
$32 bucks at the time? $32. $32.
Oh, whoop! I got so much 22 rounds, man. I'll never use them up before I die.
All right, so that's novelty guns. I want to go back and say little cannons are super fun. I'm calling them a gun because sometimes you can cram stuff in them. Shoot it. So those are super fun.
Does somebody have a little nature going on in the background? I hear little birds.
Bob's walking around some kind of garden.
That's not me. No, there's no little birds around me right now.
Oh, I'm not complaining. I'm just saying I hear little birds.
It's not me.
Of the end of a novel subject.
Oh. Oh my God!
He's coming! He's coming! He's already here! It's Bob! And time for the tactical pop quiz of the day. So those of you over on YouTube and those of you over on gun channels, put your cursor down in the text box, limber up your fingers. Smeg, are you willing to be my assistant today? Or able?
Yep, no problem.
Thank you very much. And have you seen today's answer for the question?
Yes, I have.
All right. I will read the question twice, so get ready because here it comes.
Coming.
Shotgun said to have been used by Doc Holliday at the OK Corral was made by whom? The shotgun said to have been used by Doc Holliday at the OK Corral was made by whom?
John Browning. John Browning. Got to be John Browning.
No, it's not John Browning.
Oh, come on.
Pierce,
And I want to thank Angry for that question.
H&R, Winchester, Pierce, all wrong. Winchester,
So
still wrong.
thanks, Angry.
Kel-Tec, no. Winchester, Greener, no. Henry, no.
At least we're getting a lot of guesses. They're all wrong, but
Colt, Remington, no. Remington, no.
These
Colt,
guys are just pulling answers out of their asses.
well, they're probably trying to guess about stuff that was around back then.
Parker.
Kodiak?
What was the question again, Dano?
What's that?
What was the question again?
The question is, the shotgun said to have been used by Doc Holliday at the OK Corral was made by whom?
Ichka? No. Smith & Wesson? No. His dad? No. Well, I don't think it was his dad.
Unless his dad was that company.
No.
In which case, you'd have to name the company.
Yeah.
And had a different last name.
Invitica? No. TriStar? That's like 3 times through that timer. So these people just
All
don't.
right, then.
Not even gonna get it.
All right.
So,
It's getting recycled.
I'll tell you what, in that case, unless it comes up in the last few seconds here, I'm going to say it goes back in the hopper
Yeah.
For another rerun, and not in the not too distant future.
For God's sakes, use the internet and look it up.
did you say that it's one of the shotguns on the Old West Guns playing card deck? Because it is. Just saying.
The Old West
I did
playing
not
card
say
deck
that.
that's ending on Monday, so
Is
you
it?
better get them now.
Remington Open and Art. Might as well quit guessing. I think Dano just recycled that question. So
Yes.
I think anybody is anything up there. Anybody is anything up there.
Yeah.
No one's a
I
hot
just-
shot.
Yep.
Right.
Nobody's a hot shot today, so I'm officially recycling. And by the way, this is the first question I have officially recycled. So if you have your answer, hold on to it until it comes up again. I guarantee you in the next week or so, it will come up again.
A week?
So if you-
A week, Dano. Make them wait a month at least.
well, you
Who's
give me
echoing all
25
the
more
time?
questions, and we'll make them wait a month.
Oh, for God's sakes.
But that's the question for today. So thank you for participating and giving it your best, because that's all we can really ask.
Oh, I'm disappointed in you. That's all I'm going to say.
And just for clarity's sake, I could not answer 3/4 to 90% of these questions myself. So just because I'm reading them, don't get the impression that I think I could answer them. No, I could not.
We don't have to tell people that. We don't have to make them think that we know all the answers on these things. Anyway, so now we're going to transition to whatever the next segment of the show is. But before we do, I'm going to talk about the Old West playing cards back after I move that up because he's got a wicked echo going. So, like Smeggy said, these are going to be ending on Monday. So just a couple of more days. And please share it with people if you haven't already. But if you've already participated, I want to let you know if you go over to the updates, there's 2 things that have been updated. Everybody who's participated up to this point will get one of these revolver patches. These will be 4 inches long, and they're kind of 3-dimensional. The second picture kind of shows you the 3-dimensional aspect of them. So
Yeah, I
everybody,
think that looks really cool how the stuff kind of stands out.
yeah, these
They
guys
did
are
a good job.
getting the detail into the PVC and having some fun with it. So then anybody who is participating over $60 will get this cow one as well. So these are kind of a special bonus patch. It was actually, I was going back and forth on which I should do, but I figured this one lost out to the revolver because the revolver obviously makes more sense with the gun deck. But I thought this was a pretty cool patch after they mocked it up. So we're going to get some of these, and these will go out to anybody who's at the $60 plus. So there's a couple of perks in there that are $60, and these patches will be included with those. Extra thank you. So
And by the way, I just want to let you know, I think those are some really cool PVC patches you got there of the pistol and as well as the skull.
right on, yeah, and I think that makes a good deal, right? For you get the deck of cards printed in Texas, and then the patches, the patch, and then there's also going to be a sticker that matches the patch. So if I can scroll down to it here. There'll be a sticker that's 4 inches long that looks just like this. That Flippy, famous over on gun channels. Flippy's a printer in real life, and he'll be doing the patches. So both, the stickers. So both the stickers and the decks of cards will be made in Texas. So all that money's basically we're paying Flippy. So,
can I refuse my sticker?
Maybe that.
Can I return it to sender?
But no, I think that's cool. And yeah, he's actually giving me a better deal than I can getting them printed in Canada, which was the other method. So thanks for Flippy for that.
That was just Bob taking some paper and getting out his glue stick.
Yeah,
he just puts the glue stick on the back of the piece of paper.
Hey, no, it was a different Canadian printer.
He takes like the plastic off his pack of cigarettes and then like sticks it to that and then sends it to us in an envelope. So yeah, pretty crude if we would have had it made in Canada. Anyway, so you can share it by clicking that little share button. Just take the URL and stick it around places. As I think, at least in the past, as it gets to the last couple of days, that's when people go, oh, I better jump on this before it's too late. And so any help would be appreciated. Obviously, I'd like to see it go as far as we can. So thanks everybody who's participated so far, and we'll probably talk about it. I'm not sure if it tells me. Oh, it ends at 8 p.m. Mountain, so I guess we'll be watching towards the end of it during the show on Monday. So hopefully it's not bothering people too much to talk about it, because we'll be talking about it at least 2 more days, I guess.
And you know, if you got just one deck and you think that skull patch is pretty cool, think about jumping up and getting, what's it, 4 decks or whatever, it'd be the 60. So think that you can change your level if you jumped in on it. Cool, we appreciate it. And if you jump up a little bit, you'll get an extra little perk.
Yep, that's the whole point, is to encourage people to do just that. So yeah, exactly. You can go in there. I think you can just, I mean, you guys know more than me. I usually just pledge whatever I'm pledging. I don't really adjust my pledges where I've pledged on. But I think you can go in there and just change it to a different one, and then it's already got your credit card info and it hasn't charged you anything yet. So it just agrees to charge you a different number, I think. But at the $60 level, you've got 4 decks of cards or a sheet of cards, or at the $75 level, you get 1 deck and a sheet. So, and then there's people that have been at the 2 decks, I think, and then basically added the, what do you call it, the deck of the sheet, and then just told me in like a message on Kickstarter that, hey, I still want to get the 2 decks. Or I mean the 4 decks, but I also want the sheet. So they're doing stuff like that. So you can let me know, and for the most part, we can keep track of, you know, if you want 2 pledges or 2 perks, basically. Since it won't let you, you can just let us know and we can figure it out. Anyhow, that's enough of that. We will keep going with, I don't know, should we do one of the other things, or should we go into the training again?
I don't know.
Either way works.
All right. Well, let's do gun shop of the day. I don't have one in here, but I figured Bob and I had been to a few. Pick a shop that we've both been to.
Yeah, just like I was just I was just trying to find the site for the cards. Let's see. No, I want to go back to the little one in Arizona that was across the school where you used to go to or whatever, and you used to go all in the afternoons. It was that old guy, kind of grumpy, and he had all the cool freaking guns and pirate pistols that were underneath a bunch of other shit. And yeah, just an amazing shop.
Well, I never went to school there. That's like a freaking junior high. I did live near there, so I think that's what you're.
So you just hung out there.
It's called Frontier Guns. It's a pretty cool little shop. So we tried to. Bob and I started doing the show a long time ago so that we could feature a new gun shop every day, and that's exactly the kind of shop I have in mind when I think about that goal. Right. So it's a unique shop. It's everything in there. There's nothing in there, literally, except for maybe ammo that you can still buy today. I mean, it's not like he orders in a Glock or a CZ or anything, unless something like he probably could. But maybe he'd ordering like a Ruger or something for somebody. But basically, it's a used shop, a consignment shop, maybe. I don't know. I think it's just his personal guns that he's selling, or like the shop's guns that he's selling. He might buy them once in a while. Yep. I think he buys States. But anyway, it's just if you need something odd or random, he's probably going to have it there tucked away somewhere. And because he's a nice guy and it's an interesting little shop, you can just go in there and spend. I mean, I wouldn't go in there today. It's probably hot in there. But you probably go in there and spend an hour just rooting around. I know I've done that. There's books and holsters and rifles on racks, and they're just weird assortment of rifles, and prices can range from like he's crazy to he's crazy the other way, and you buy it just because you know you are making a good deal on it.
Yeah. And he's got weird, like really unique stuff. He had that 45 Automag or 45 Magnum. What was it? Yeah, it was a 45, but it was a Magnum in an automatic. And he had the gun and box of cartridges.
Was that a Grizzly? But yeah, that was an interesting gun. Stuff.
Oh yeah, and it's like you just don't see those.
It wasn't a 357 Maximum, was it?
No. It was a 45
Magnum
ACP, but in a Magnum, it was like twice as long as a regular 45 ACP. Huge round. You actually have one of the rounds.
Yeah, I know. So yeah, that's a look kind of like looking at a 357 version of a 1911 with the big.
Right. Yeah.
All right, so it's called Frontier Guns. It's in Tucson. He's been there forever. Unfortunately, he'll probably go away whenever he decides to quit doing it. But you know, those kind of shops, they're not going to last forever. I guess there's some more out there. Are some of them out there. It used to be all shops were kind of like that. Can you remember back when? Oh, yeah. Well, I can remember there was, and you know, I lived sort of near a big place, like a big city. There was one like big box store that had some guns. Otherwise, there were just gun shops. There was nothing like. Well, no, I guess there was Gander Mountain also, but and I don't know when.
They didn't really like have a lot of guns. They had a lot of hunting guns, but they didn't have like old surplus. They didn't have old pistols. They didn't have shit like that, right?
Right. The best you could hope for is like a big gun shop, or for that kind of stuff, gun shows, and then surplus stores existed back then still.
Yeah.
But anyway, so this is one of my favorite things is about guns and everything is just going out and hanging out at gun shops. One of the things we format this show after is what it's like to go hang out in a gun shop that's like that, where there's stools and it encourages you to just hang out, enjoy the air conditioning or whatever, and shoot the shit.
Yeah.
And
tables for Danos. Perfect.
Not in that shop though. I mean, there's definitely some stools, but there's no room for no picnic table.
Oh God, no! There's barely room for aisles. It's amazing. Oh, I love it, man. I want to go back there. I gotta go back when I come back this year. I gotta go back to that shop.
All right, you're allowed to. So that's our shop for today. We have been getting some shops in via email, so we appreciate anybody that's participating that way, and we encourage people to continue to do so. It's dailygunshow@gmail.com. You can always email us. We encourage you anytime you're in a gun shop. Remember, you've got your camera, your phone in your pocket. Ask if it's okay to take some pictures to share on the internet. In my experience, they almost always say yes, and then literally almost always, just a couple of shops that have said no ever in the years I've been doing it. And share them on Facebook, share them on gun channels for sure. Share them on Instagram or YouTube, whatever it is that you do to create content. And you're helping that shop out a lot. And then give us a link, and we'll help your channel out, whatever it is that you're where you're putting your stuff. Or if you just want to send us a link to the gun shop's website or some pictures that you've taken or something, we can help you to share the information that way. But a big goal of our show is to talk about a gun shop every day. And with that, I guess we'll go on to the training segment. So on Thursdays, we talk about training. And we had weirdly talked about CCW training earlier, but now we're getting into a training segment. Danos threw in here virtual training versus real world training. So what does this mean?
Well, I guess I was thinking in terms of, you know, there's a whole huge advancement in virtual reality. You know, from the headsets to other playing various scenarios with a light gun, and then the scenario reacts to the light as if it's a hit or a miss, or whether you should have fired at all, versus sitting down in a class, having some classroom time, and then actually having range time with real ammunition. You know, those two, and compare and contrast the two. And the pros and the cons.
Are you going to include like training with simulation or simunition? Basically, you know, they use a real gun, but they're like hit with a paintball or.
Oh, I muted you, Dano, because you were echoing off of Bob there.
Okay, I would include that in the real world.
Okay.
I think when you're talking virtual training, it's kind of like, you know, watching a tactical response video on YouTube or something, or what, like a DVD or whatever. Like that's kind of virtual training, which I do think there's some value to that. But I definitely think that doing stuff in the real world, like with an instructor who can actually watch what you're doing and correct some things, is a whole nother value. It's a step above.
Yeah, I was seeing virtual training as where you do the, you know, you have the movie screen and you shoot a light gun, you know, shoot or don't shoot and this kind of stuff.
Right, that's another variation.
Shooting real projectiles.
Yeah, so I don't consider what Smeggy's talking about online training as virtual training either. I'm going to go with what Dano and Bob are saying.
Okay, well then disregard what I said.
But what you're talking about there, I'm going to just add to that. There's merit there because I've been to real life type of scenario training, right, where you go through different situations in real life, and there's definitely value to that. But the scenarios take time to set up. They take role players. They take a commitment of at least a day by a bunch of, you know, dozens of people, where a CD can give you, I don't know, dozens and dozens and dozens of scenarios. Not necessarily real life physical interaction, but mental, you know, you got some opportunity there. But getting back to the virtual, I agree with these guys that when I think virtual, I think of those scenario based video type of things. And I've seen them develop over the years, just seeing them at SHOT Show. Some of them started out being just a big projection TV basically, or whatever you call that, on a screen in front of you. And now they're super elaborate hallways and rooms and little mazes set up with so many cameras watching you and your actions in relation to it. It's basically virtual reality without having to put a helmet or anything on, because you're just in a you know, a sizable area with these screens literally everywhere. So
like a holograph or a hologram or something, you know?
Yeah, seriously, virtual reality. And they can be for $1,000. What was it? 2000. It was many years ago already. 2000. It was in the sand, so it had to be since 2010, I guess. There was already a virtual reality type of thing for, you could take your own video and put it in and then project it and then use this little light laser thing like what Dano uses with his you know, regular handgun, where it pulses the laser every time you shoot it. You could already do that with your own. You could, you know, be training at your own situations, your own, if you're a security place, your own, you know, actual locations that you secure. Police officers could do it in actual in their town or whatever. But the elaborate stuff, again, you can be in any scenario: airplanes, airports, you know, crowded areas, remote. You could be taking long shots, up close, people running all around. So I think that kind of stuff can be really effective, just super elaborate. But with that in mind, there's a place up in Phoenix called Modern Round. I follow them on Instagram, and it's some sort of hybrid training / cafe, like coffee bar, and they do drinks and stuff at night. Since it's not real guns, they offer like liquor type of drinks, and then different kind of time on the scenarios. I guess they have games you can play, but then they also have, you know, scenario based shoot or don't shoot type of things. And I don't know if they offer it for instructors for training or not, because all I ever see is the entertainment side of it. But that's literally open for entertainment.
Right, and that's one of the things that I saw at that Smoke and Gun Works that I've done a review on a couple of times, where they have that shoot or don't shoot scenario, but they also have the game part of it as well.
Yeah, that's kind of weird. Although, I mean, you know, what is paintball? What is what's that? They shoot the little BBs.
Airsoft.
Airsoft, yeah. You know, they have huge scenarios. Like Europe, apparently, it's huge. They have guys with sniper rifles hitting at 200 yards.
Yeah, that's fantasy, like role-playing stuff. But if we're talking actual training, like CCW type of stuff, you're not talking snipers and BB guns. You're talking probably more like simunitions at a force-on-force class. If we're talking virtual training versus real world, the virtual stuff I would think could be a great supplement or aid, but I'm going to vote real world any day after experiencing more than one of the tactical responses force-on-force. That's that's top 3 classes you need to take if you just want to further your own knowledge and stuff. So there's no
I can only imagine, because there are consequences to making the wrong decisions that hurt.
Oh, there's confidence and knowledge of what you can even do. Pulling your own gun out of your own holster with real people involved in a 3D dimensional situation. There's nothing that can simulate that. That's immediate confirmation and, you know, knowledge of what you can actually do, like how you can physically move and when you can make a decision and that kind of thing. So yeah, that's very, very good stuff. So I would definitely vote real world over virtual. But like I say, if you've got something like, if I lived in Phoenix, I'd probably be trying to figure out what a long-term membership is for that virtual stuff. Just I would imagine getting all that virtual shoot no shoot has got to be beneficial, if not just entertaining.
Yeah, that's why I think of it as in addition to, not instead of.
That'd be something to look at. I wouldn't mind doing that next year too, or this winter.
I feel like in a lot of ways this show is more just like a travel itinerary thing for Bob. Like we're just setting up.
Where should Bob go next winter?
Look at it this way, I gotta plan when I can. You know, I only got so many years left. When it's your time, it's your time.
All right. Well, thanks for dragging that show over to there. Is there anything else with virtual versus real world?
I think we could probably come back and visit it as technology continues to move forward. But I think we pretty much did it good for today.
You're welcome. What we like to do is bring up ideas like this so that you can talk about them on your own show. Maybe you want to do an after show. Maybe you want to do a podcast or something. And this gives you some stuff to talk about. If you do, let us know, and we'll be sure to promote it. So I guess with that, we might as well do the movie of the day. Another thing we like to hit every single day is a gun-related movie, something you might not have seen in a while, or something if you're young and you ain't seen yet. I think Dano had to take off and go do his business, but I'm not sure if he's seen this one or not. I'm assuming he has. But anyway, the movie is Southern Comfort. Have you guys seen this one?
Oh, yeah. 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 Bunch of, what is it? Militia, not militia, National Guard. And they're going into the jungle on training exercise. Everybody's got blanks. And the guy with the M60 decides to scare some locals, and then they start getting hunted or something. It's like, weird shit news.
Have you seen this one, Smikey?
I have not.
You know, I don't think I've seen it. I assumed I had, but after Bob's talking about it.
Yeah, it's got the guy from Red Dawn. The pilot from Red Dawn is in it. He's one of the main characters.
Okay.
Yeah, he's really good in it. Yeah. And there's somebody else that's really big. Or was big or something. I mean, but
Fred Ward.
Yeah, all a good movie.
It's got Remo Williams in it, so it's probably pretty good.
Yeah. It's neat. It's a very interesting movie. You know, kind of psychological, but at the same time, it's kind of it's just a good movie. And it's got like M16s and M60s and a bunch of old hunting rifles and shit. It's a lot of fun to watch.
All right. Well, that's the point of the topic, is to talk about a movie you might not have seen. Remember what year is this thing? 1981. I know it was a long time ago.
That's not a long time ago. That was like A couple years ago.
1981 is pre-cable. Like that show, I don't think that one was ever even out on cable.
Yeah. I don't know.
Well,
You guys are
when I think about movies, I think about them like pre or post cable is like one of the waypoints.
Really?
Well, yeah, because there was a time there, at least when I was growing up, when HBO first started and cable was just hitting everybody. And then there was like the Monty Python movies. I probably seen them a billion times because they were on every single afternoon when you came home from school. And then whatever the next movie was, like, you know, there was like that whole group of movies that they didn't have the rights or they didn't bother to show any movies from before it. So any movies from the early 80s, like if they, you know, they weren't in the cable rotation, they might as well have been invisible. Because until you got video stores coming along, you didn't even have an opportunity to see those kind of movies. And I guess now that there's Blockbuster and shit, you know, there's just so many other movies to choose from that some of these movies I don't think people have ever even seen.
I think I was just out and beginning to live on my own and be a working person and stuff like that. Like, so, you know, 17, 18. And I don't think I could afford cable, so I just never had cable. I didn't care anyway. I was 17, 18. All I was doing was, you know, what normal people that age do.
That's interesting.
And
everybody that moved out, that was one of the first things they got is a place and then cable because you got to be able to watch TV.
yeah, not me. It was like, you know, I didn't care about TV. I was riding my motorcycle and shit. I just needed a place to sleep at night. So, yeah, I never had cable until I was probably in my 30s, 40s. By that time, cable was, you know, you got like 1,000 channels. It was like, oh, this is kind of cool. Nah, there's nothing on.
All right, speaking of nothing on, why don't we talk about the gun of the day?
Why not? Now, again, this is, what is it? Oh, it's Canadian week, isn't it? So this one's it's kind of neat, actually. It's the Scorpio SKS 15 semi-auto rifle by Kodiak Defense. And what they've basically done is taken the SKS because it's a common rifle in Canada. It's accepted by the laws, you know, it's a fixed magazine, blah, 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 semi-automatic. So what Kodiak Defense did is they just took that basic rifle, they updated it, made it accept a magazine that is from a pistol that's sold in Canada, which means it can be a 10-round magazine. So because it's a pistol magazine, you can now have 10 rounds in it. It looks like a personal defense type rifle, you know, like an AR kind of black rifle kind of thing. It's based on the SKS design, so it's like robust, never fail, everything works good, shoots a good round. 7.62x39 is a wonderful round, and you can put 10-round magazines in it. Yeah, I like it. It's a little pricey, but you know, they're just everything you'd want to do.
Just to put icing on there, you said that it's a little pricey. So how much does this thing cost?
$700.
All right. So this is, sometimes you got to be scared straight, right? Sometimes you got to go to the prison and have them shake you by the shoulders and yell about how what they're gonna do to you if you go to prison, right? So this is one of the reasons we do this show. This is what happens when you get crazy ass Canadian gun laws. Did you hear Bob trying to hack how good this gun is? Look at this thing. Come on. There's no way anybody would have invented this gun if you didn't have the horrible restrictions you have there.
Well, you know what? You know what it reminds me of? Is some of the California AR-15.
Desperation and like the inability to do stuff because you're restricted in such, like your hands.
You know what it's like? It's like a California compliant AR-15, isn't it?
Well, no, it's worse in a lot of ways.
How is it worse? How is it worse? It takes a 10-round magazine,
untested, proprietary garbage magazine that you have to use because of your restrictions. It's putting an AR-15 mag well into 7.62, which has never been a consistently reliable thing. And then you're putting the heaviest, like, operating system of all guns up underneath.
The most reliable and accurate. You have to admit the SKS is reliable and accurate.
I'm not going to admit either one of those just because you have some fantasy about the SKS being reliable. I've owned dozens. Well, I haven't owned dozens. I've owned at least 6 SKS
Well,
and I
real ones, or ones that have been like modified so they could be sold in the States.
number one, what the hell does that mean? There is no SKSs that are real ones. You talking about from like Vietnam, like ones that were
I'm talking
used
like from Russia, built in 1954, all matching numbers to laminated stock SKS.
That's it. That's all we ever had. Little garbage $89 SKSs, $75 SKSs. But anyway, all I'm saying is this is something to be advised about. This is what happens when your hands are tied and you have to make do with what's available.
Well, I'll agree with that completely. That's why this gun exists.
Right. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Nobody would have sat down and said, okay, let's start with an SKS and do something with it.
Exactly. What they sat down with it and said is, well, this one's acceptable. What can we do with it to make it more usable? And you know, they did the best they could. It is one of the guns that's available here, and you know, it sucks, but hey, that's what happens when you let the government loose on the gun laws. You guys are so lucky to have the Second Amendment. Protect it. Save it. Make sure you never lose it. Without it, you won't have a first.
There's nothing lucky about the people that created and then have defended since the Second Amendment. Nothing lucky. All determined effort and a result of effort. Anyhow, so thanks. That's another in the series of guns that exist in Canada. I don't think we'd see that one down here, even if it was. I don't know if it is legal down here. I just don't know if people would buy it, especially for $700. You know, without the restriction. Now, if it was something that they could import to a state where there's issues with magazine capacity or platforms, you know, it might exist because of that. You know, it could be that kind of potential. Interesting. And it's aluminum, I'm hoping. So that even though it's that huge and using an SKS, it's like an aluminum SKS?
Yeah, it's, I guess, well, it's using a lot of aluminum and composite stuff. But I think action and everything's SKS. So they haven't changed any of that. They've made it, except a different magazine, and they've given us some new furniture that's a lot lighter. I mean, because, you know, like, I got a really nice SKS, and yeah, it's a little heavy for what it does. My VZ 58's like a half the weight and does more. So, but for its time period, you know, like mine's a 53 or 54, something like that. And yes, good gun, shoots really well. Very impressed with the reliability and the accuracy. Never thought that about Russian guns until I started buying them, and then it was like, fuck, these things shoot.
All right, well, I'm looking at this day in history. A couple of things that might be interesting for people. Nothing all that awesome, but today in 1772, slavery was outlawed in England. So that's interesting. We have 1933, Hitler banned all political parties in Germany other than the Nazis. There's a couple other things. 1970, Nixon signed the 26th Amendment, lowering the voting age to 18. It's still before my time. 1973, Skylab astronauts splashed down safely in the Pacific after a record 28 days in space. And I guess that's about it.
Yeah, that's kind of amazing, right? Like, that was the record, 28 days, and now they've done, like, I think there's been some guys who've been up there for over a year, if not 2 years, some of the Russians.
Yeah, I don't know how to, I mean, that's true, but it's also 2017. I kind of would like to have seen that happen in like, you know, the early 80s or the 90s. I mean, why the hell are we waiting, or why are we accepting that kind of thing this long? I mean, we should have been, or we could have been spending a lot more time and effort up there than wasting all a bunch of time and effort down here on stupid shit.
Yeah, well, truly, we should have been on Mars by now.
That could be a whole other show. Why aren't people more interested in getting the hell off this planet?
Yep.
All right. So, anybody else got anything else?
No, I think, well, yeah, we did, I think, everything. So,
yeah, that's about it. So, trying to think what else might be today in history. I don't think we had anything else. Yesterday was the longest day of the year. So, today's nothing. It's just a different day. Tomorrow, though, will be episode 340. We'll be talking about gun tech, and if anyone's ever been arrested for the 922R compliance laws. We'll be talking about the gun biz, specifically the history of Remington. And then for an alternative topic tomorrow, we'll be talking about should you keep a list of your firearms and serial numbers in case of theft, like a digital hard copy or digital or a hard copy. So I know a couple of people have asked so far about that topic, so I think that'll be a big one tomorrow. Hopefully everybody will join us for the same time, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 Pacific. Let's see, tonight is Thursday, so I'm not sure if Tack Daddy is doing his Gun News Weekly. I think he said something about changing the name of the show or changing the format or something. Plus, I know he's been on vacation in Alaska, so that may or may not be going on. Check his channel for that. And then, depending on if Yankee gets rained out or if he's doing his, I forget what he calls it, kickboxing or something? No, not kickboxing, kickball. I think he plays kickball, something like that. He might be doing a show. I've been thinking about doing the AK podcast tonight. The heat here is freaking killing me, so I'm going to see if I can't figure out a way to cool it down. If I can cool it down enough, fall asleep, then I'll do the AK podcast tonight. Matt does a podcast tonight for his Patreon people. He may have actually already started that, or if he hasn't, it'll be starting soon. And then Pink, a lot of times, will have a lobby open on gun channels for anybody that wants to just hang out and chat. There's usually a lobby open for that. Otherwise, tomorrow morning, I imagine Jimmy James will have the early watch show going. It's a long format show where he talks about guns, has a bunch of people on from gun channels, and a long format. So it's a lot of hours of a lot of gun talk. Today was a pretty good one. Amit was in there again. Flippy's keeping us updated on a couple of purchases he's got going on. And Dana was in there catching up with everybody. So it was a pretty big crowd for most of the day today, actually. So looking forward to that tomorrow. It's Friday, so it'd be Edge of the Week. And I don't think Heavy does his show on Fridays anymore. So if somebody's looking for a time slot, Heavy B used to do a show on Fridays. And I imagine that's an open slot now that he works on Fridays. All right, well, I guess that's it. So we will see you tomorrow, same time, 7 p.m. Eastern.
okay, well, nobody's got anything else. I guess we might as well end this thing with our quote. Now, as everybody knows, every day we do it with a quote. This one's by Jeff Cooper. Before that, though, I would like to remind everybody, please share, subscribe, and like these videos and these podcasts on whatever platform you're listening to. It helps. So anyway, this one's by Jeff Cooper. Very simple little quote. Safety is something that happens between your ears, not something you hold in your hands.
Oh, shit.
So keep that in mind. And what did you forget, G-Webs?
We all forgot the hashtag Daily Gun Show Showdown. I don't know if Smeggy's still around. He might have melted.
Wow. Oh, shit, man. That's a big one, too, isn't it? It's Thursday. Gee, I can't be blamed for any of that, missing what day it is, because I'm retired, so I don't really know what day it is.
Well, thanks, Dudley, for bringing that up. We'll probably push it off till tomorrow.
I think we're going to have to. Because we pretty much finished this up, so let's just roll the credits.
Yep, thanks again. And please, again, share the Kickstarter project. All efforts towards that end are very much appreciated.
For sure. Thanks, guys. See y'all tomorrow.
GunWebsites.com encourage you to take a CCW class every year, practice at least once a month, and carry every day. Thanks for watching GunWebsites.com.